panel discussion about your favorite topic, sports.
Drew Brees is not a top 10 quarterback in NFL history. It's simple as that.
How do you say that?
Drew Brees, you cannot argue with stats.
I know for a fact it's going to be the best team in the East. It is the Toronto Raptors because of Kawhi Leonard.
I'm going to talk about another team that I want to be a Cinderella story so bad, and that's UCF. I talked about it earlier. They're ranked 12th in the nation. They beat Auburn last year in their bowl game.
It's Crunch Time.
Welcome back to a new season of Crunch Time, a panel discussion show about your favorite topic, sports. I'm your host, Alex Cotter, and with me, Ernie Cottier, Jack Beanick, and Earnhardt Jaworski. How you guys doing today?
I'm doing great. How about yourself?
I'm doing pretty good. Should we jump right into it?
Oh, absolutely.
All right, let's kick things off. In Minneapolis, as last year, the Vikings signed quarterback Kirk Cousins to an $84 million deal in hopes that he would lead Minnesota to the big game. However, Kirk Cousins and the Vikings didn't meet expectations, missing the playoffs and going 8-7-1. And a lot of blame was put on Kirk Cousins and his inability to perform well in big games despite his impressive stats. The Vikings are currently 1-1 on the season, coming off an embarrassing loss to Green Bay. And yet again, the blame for the loss was put on the 8-year pro. Fellas, what are your expectations for Kirk Cousins this season? Can he bounce back after last week's game? And can he get this team back in the playoffs? Ernie, we're going to start with you.
I mean, he can get him back in the playoffs. I think he's got the abilities to make it there, but that's the big question. Will he do it? He's so inconsistent from week to week. And the Falcons, you see, oh, Kirk Cousins is doing great. This Vikings team looks great. They beat the Falcons easily, who are a decent team. But then they go up against the Packers, and Cousins is, 14 for 32, throws a terrible interception in the end zone, never should have threw that pass, and loses the game for him, which was a very winnable game against the Green Bay offense that wasn't going all that well. I mean, both teams have a great defense, so the Vikings
All right, I'm going to cut you off, Jack.
Kirk Cousins has a lot of potential. Last season, he had a completion percentage of 70.1. That's a 10th all-time single-season completion percentage. You've got offensive firepower. Kyle Rudolph, Stephon Diggs, Adam Thielen, Dalvin Cook. He has potential to make this team great, but when you're running 15 yards behind the line of scrimmage and lobbing one up in the back of the end zone to a 6-foot receiver, you can't do that. He's got to be playing smarter and making good throws.
All right, Earnhardt.
Cousins, he's 5-6 or 5-26 versus teams over 500. He's 6-13 in prime time, and last season he was 1-6 against teams who made the playoffs. Why is he still here? I honestly, from the day Cousins was signed, I knew what the product on the field was going to be. It was going to be below average, and ever since Cousins has been here, I don't have faith in the Vikings. I don't see them having any potential whatsoever.
All right, for Kirk Cousins, you touched on he has a lot of weapons, and he should be able to get back to the playoffs. If the Vikings can get back to the playoffs, what does this team need to do?
Keep playing the way they've been playing. The defense has been good. The running game, Dalvin Cook is incredible. It really is on Cousins. Which Cousins is going to show up, the 14 for 32 or the guy that's going to steamroll the Falcons for you?
They need to run the football. Bottom line, they need to run the football. Once teams start worrying about the run, it opens up a pass game. Cousins will have an easier time passing.
But he ran that well. And
all right, I'm going to cut you guys off. I'm going to give that point to Ernie. He just had the best take on that. And we're going to take things now. We're going to get to the big crunch now. NFC North may end up being one of the best divisions in football. The Bears are reigning division champs and continue to have one of the best defenses led by Khalil Mack. The Vikings look to get back to the running game with Dalvin Cook, and the Packers have new leadership in their new head coach, Matt LaFleur, and the Lions will try to improve after a 6-10 season last year. So, guys, how do you see the NFC North playing out? Jack, we're going to start with you.
I think at this point, too early to call up in the air, but a couple things I've noted this season, the Packers' defense has shown a lot of improvement. They went out inside Adrian Amos. They got Darnell Savage in the draft. A couple guys who have played a big role on this team. They've allowed less than 10 points per game this season, a category they ranked 22nd in the league last year. So that's really good for them. But then the Lions, they got an impressive win against the Chargers, but their defense will need to step up. They've allowed the most points this season out of any team in the division. So if their defense doesn't play well, I think this is the Packers' division.
All right, Earnhardt.
Honestly, it's a three-horse race between Chicago, Green Bay, and Minnesota. Detroit is rebuilding for, the 20th consecutive year now. It's really hard to tell between Chicago, Green Bay, and Minnesota because they all really look sloppy. They haven't played a complete game on both sides of the ball. Week 1, Chicago and Green Bay, that was just a brutal slugfest. It was really slow. And this week 2 here with Green Bay and Minnesota, again, another really close game. Could have gone either way, and the Bears barely beat Denver. It's all going to come down to who can get their ducks in a row first, and that's who's going to come on top.
All right, Ernie?
I'm going to have to disagree with you that they played sloppy. They played on both sides of the ball. They played sloppy on one side of the ball, and that is offense. All 4 of the teams in the division have played sloppy on offense. Defensively, this might be the best defensive division in all of football. I think at least 2 teams are coming out of this division and going into the playoffs. I think it could be the Vikings or the Bears. I think the Packers have started off well, getting 2-0 against division opponents. That's a big thing to start off with. But also, if you look at it, none of the teams in the NFC North have lost to a team outside of the NFC North yet. Yeah, the Lions tied the Cardinals, but they didn't lose to them. Nobody has lost except to each other. The defenses are all playing well. Yeah, the Lions might have allowed the most points, but they still allowed 10 points to a good Chargers team last week. I think the Packers are the best defensive, offensive mix so far, but that's just because of Cousins' inconsistency and Trubisky's inconsistency so far.
What offense or defense is going to be the most dominant and probably help their team win the division?
I think honestly, the Packers. The Packers had a great offseason. They made a bunch of signings. Amos got a pick this year. Darnell Savage, we've heard his name when he's been on the field. These are guys that just joined the team this year, and if they continue to play well, this is going to be a team to watch out for.
That's true. Well, the Packers' biggest downfall every single season is they have no defense. They have no defense. Last year, their offense wasn't good. Packers had the losing record for the first time in a long time. If their offense can get going at all, you saw how they started off against the Vikings. That offense was humming right away. But once again, Vikings have a great defense. Zimmer is a great coach, and they were able to slow down the Packers. But once you see the Packers play against teams outside of this division, Bears are a top 5 defense. Vikings probably a top 5 defense as well. So that offense could really get going against another team that's not got that defense.
I'm going to cut you off. I like Jack's take. Green Bay is a very even, balanced team, so I'm going to give the point over to him. Now on to our next topic. As you already know, a new season brings new faces to new teams. Odell Beckham Jr. had a huge game Monday night versus the Jets. Joe Flacco nearly took down the defending NFC North champs. And let's not forget other big names like Le'Veon Bell and C.J. Mosley landing with the Jets and Earl Thomas to Baltimore. Guys, who's going to make the biggest impact on their new team? Earnhardt, we'll start with you.
Bringing up Earl Thomas, he's my pick. He's been in the league 8-9 years now. He has great veteran presence, and now he's going to strengthen one of the second best defenses in the league. But my key thing for him, he has to stay healthy after coming back from a really big injury.
Right.
One of the best defenses in the league. Who have they played against? The Dolphins? That's not an impressive defensive showing to me. I'm going to have to go with Antonio Brown. He's not a player on your list, but the Patriots went from being one of the most feared teams in the league. Once they got Brown, now they are the most feared team in the league. I am terrified of them. Teams are terrified of them week in, week out. He hasn't had a big game yet. He's only been with them for a week. He still had that touchdown against the Dolphins. Really doesn't matter. It's the Dolphins. But I think with Brady and Brown, that's going to be a feared combo throughout the entire NFL going forward.
All right, Jack.
I've got Le'Veon Bell. With Sam Darnold being out, the Jets are on their 3rd QB. Le'Veon Bell is bound to get more touches. Already in the previous week on Monday night, he had 4 more rushes and 4 more targets receiving than he did in week 1. And I'm sure the amount of touches he gets is going to go up, being that Falk is inexperienced. So I think Le'Veon Bell is poised to have a good season. He's averaged 4 yards a carry in his last 3 seasons in the NFL, and I think he's going to continue to do that. 128 yards rushing and 93 yards receiving so far this year. I'm sure he's going to get more of that.
Yeah, but we're not talking about how big of numbers are they going to add. How many stats are they going to pad? The Jets are 0-2. They just got wiped out by the Browns. I don't think he's going to have an impact that'll actually do anything. Okay, he has a great season and they go 4-12. Does that really mean you made an impact? Would you rather be a terrible or a great player on a terrible team, or a decent player on a great team that actually contributes to something that means something, winning?
Well, Le'Veon Bell can make a difference. I'm not saying they're going to beat the Patriots, but this Jets team has potential. I mean, Le'Veon Bell
they couldn't even beat the Browns.
Is a good with Odell Beckham, Jarvis Landry, Nick Chubb.
It's the
David
same old Jets.
Baker
There's
Mayfield.
nothing new.
All right, you know what? I'm going to stop you guys there. I'm going to give that point to Jack. I think Le'Veon Bell will make the biggest difference to the Jets, especially with Sam Darnold out with his illness. Now, after the break, it's only week 3 of the NFL season. Teams are already having problems with personnel, whether it's injuries or attitudes. More Crunch Time after the break. All right, welcome back, everybody. We got Ernie with 1 point, Jack with 2 points, and Earnhardt's still waiting to get his first point, but we got a ton of more topics to discuss. And big bad news out of the Bayou. Saints starting quarterback Drew Brees will need surgery to repair a torn ligament in his thumb that he injured in last Sunday's game versus the LA Rams. Teddy Bridgewater is expected to fill in for Brees, but Coach Sean Payton has teased the idea of running a 2-quarterback system. So for the next 6 weeks in New Orleans, how much does this hurt the Saints' playoff hopes, and can the Saints offense still be effective without Brees? Ernie, we're going to start with you on this one.
Yes, they can definitely still be effective. I mean, Teddy Bridgewater, before he went down a couple years ago, he was talked about how good he was going to be. He had a big injury, scary injury, feel for him there, but now at this point, he's come back. Now he has an opportunity to play with a great offensive team. Alvin Kamara, you got Thomas out there. This team is good, and the other thing is that the opponents that they play against the Buccaneers twice in the next 6 weeks. They play against the Panthers in there. They have a difficult matchup with the Cowboys, which I don't think they'll win. But other than that, they have 4 or 5 very winnable games against. This is really the opportunity
All right,
time
Jack.
he was going to get injured.
I mean, you're talking about Teddy Bridgewater, but he's not even the best backup quarterback on that team. Taysom Hill is very capable. He can catch the ball, he can run, he can throw. Taysom Hill is going to see a lot of reps with this team. We already saw him get 2 touchdowns receiving last season. He had one earlier this year. Taysom Hill is a very good player. He can play defense also. He's played safety before. He plays special teams. He can do it all.
I'm going to have to agree with Ernie here. The Saints are going to go with Bridgewater. He's going to ball out with the Saints. Oh, God. Over the next 6 weeks, the Saints need to do major damage control, though. They do have one of the weaker defensive teams in the league. They've, I believe, given up 28 points on average over the last 2 weeks. So with Bridgewater stepping back into this starting NFL position, he's going to need time to get acclimated to the system, and that could cost the team.
Yeah, but their defense, they've given up points, but who have they played against? They've played against great offensive teams. Also, losing Brees mid-game, that's going to hurt no matter what, especially against a Rams team that went to the Super Bowl last year. They're a very good team. And I think Bridgewater is going to have that time to adjust. He's got a great running back, like I said, and they get to play against weaker opponents. He's going to roll with this team.
And Marshawn Lattimore, Demario Davis, Cameron Jordan, that defense can stop guys. We've seen how Marshawn Lattimore has played in previous seasons. He's one of the best cornerbacks in the league.
I'm going to have to cut you guys off. I liked Ernie's take on it. I have a lot of faith in Teddy Bridgewater to get the job done. Now, the soap opera we call the Pittsburgh Steelers is back for Season 2 after missing the playoffs last year. Pittsburgh will now be without Big Ben for the rest of the year. Roethlisberger will require elbow surgery that will keep him out the remainder of the season. Rookie quarterback Mason Rudolph will step in as the Steelers starting quarterback with big shoes to fill. Boys, the Steelers can the Steelers still salvage their season without Ben Roethlisberger? Jack?
So I don't think Ben Roethlisberger being hurt is going to be the issue. Mason Rudolph impressed me when he came in. 12 of 19 for 112 yards and a couple touchdowns when he came into their previous game after Ben got hurt. He can play. I mean, we saw him make passes. The question is, does this team have enough firepower? Rudolph will have to find playmakers other than Juju Smith-Schuster. You've got Washington, who played with Rudolph at Oklahoma State. He's going to have to find other guys.
I think Mason Rudolph is going to step in great. He did great things for Oklahoma State. But honestly, him, James Conner, and Juju Smith-Schuster, they can't carry the team themselves. Pittsburgh has one of the weakest defensive teams right now. And with Baltimore and Cleveland on the rise, this season could be another grim one for them.
Ernie?
Pittsburgh, you lost 33-3 in the opening game of the season with Big Ben. What do you think is going to happen without him? This team, you said it's the second season of their drama?
You lost to the Patriots.
Okay. Yeah, good for you. You still only scored 3 points. 3 with Big Ben. This team is one of the biggest wastes of talents ever. You had Smith-Schuster, you had Le'Veon Bell, you had Brown, and you had Big Ben all on the same team, and no Super Bowls, not even an AFC Championship appearance, and now Big Ben's gone. Smith-Schuster's the only one left.
Do you guys think this is it for Big Ben? Do you think his career's over?
This is it for him. All the Steelers do is play down to their competition. They've done this the past 4 years, and they've gone nowhere as the Patriots have excelled and gone to Super Bowl after Super Bowl.
I think Big Ben will come back for one more decent season, but it really doesn't matter. They're not making the playoffs this year.
His career isn't over, but this is kind of the beginning of the end. He won't have much time left. But I still think if Mason Rudolph can find other playmakers other than Juju Smith-Schuster, this team could make a run.
Where's he going to find them?
This team isn't going to make a run. The Steelers
Jesse
this season
James.
is essentially
All right,
over.
I'm going to cut you guys off there. I'm going to give that point to Erna. I like what he said. You know, their defense is not playing the way a usual Pittsburgh Steelers team plays. And now, once again, Jalen Ramsey is making headlines as the All-Pro has requested a trade out of Jacksonville. The past week, Ramsey got in an altercation with head coach Doug Marrone on the sidelines in the 12-13 loss to the Houston Texans. The Jaguars are currently fetching at least a first-round pick in exchange for Ramsey. Guys, what do you think about this whole situation, and where's the best landing spot for him? We'll just start with you, Reinhard.
Honestly, I think Jalen Ramsey is a joke. This dude talks a lot of trash for being on a team that has one of the worst defenses in the last 4 years, but he wants out of Jacksonville for the same reason everyone wants out of Miami. The Jaguars are a tanking ship right now, and honestly, at this point, he's ring chasing and he's not even trying to hide it.
All right, Ernie?
Ring chasing. He was up by 2 touchdowns in the AFC Championship against the Patriots. He is a great player. This didn't surprise me. We all saw this coming. Did anyone actually think Jalen Ramsey was going to finish the season with the Jaguars? The Jaguars are trash. He wants to play with a good team. He deserves to play with a good team. Yeah, he's got a big mouth, but we've known that about him. Usually the most talented defensive backs in the league do. We talked about Richard Sherman and the Seahawks a few years ago. I think he's actually going to wind up with the Kansas City Chiefs. They're a team that is going for broke. They want to win the Super Bowl. They've got the offense. They want a defense that can match up with the Patriots, and adding one of the best defensive backs in the entire league could push them over the limit. Trading away a pick or two, that's worth it for a Super Bowl title.
Yeah, Jalen Ramsey, one of the best corners in the league, and I understand his emotions. This is a team that was very close to the Super Bowl a couple years ago and hasn't done anything since. Then this heated confrontation with Doug Marrone on the sideline in their past game doesn't help anything. Jalen Ramsey has a lot of potential, and Minkah Fitzpatrick with Miami, it did not take Miami long to find a good asking price for Minkah Fitzpatrick. So I don't think it's going to take Jacksonville to find the right price to move Ramsey.
All right, how about what team shouldn't he end up on, is the question. Like, there's many teams in the race, Patriots, Vikings, Chiefs, kind of other teams. What team that's kind of headline shouldn't be?
Minnesota.
The Patriots.
Minnesota. Mike Zimmer will eat him alive and just chew him up, and he probably would barely get playing time.
He wouldn't barely get playing time. He's one of the best defensive backs in the league. I don't think there's any team that would be hurt by having him on their team. He's one of the best cornerbacks in the league. Like I keep saying it, he is that talented.
All right, I'm gonna cut you guys off. I'm gonna give that point to Ernie. He had the strongest argument there. I think I kind of like the move going to the Chiefs. I think that'd be a great fit for Jalen Ramsey. When we come back, we'll discuss the Twins' playoff push as well as the rest of the MLB. Stay tuned. Welcome back to Crunch Time. Let's do a quick score update. We got Ernie and Jack tied at 3 and Earnhardt's at 1, hoping to make a comeback here in the final round. But let's get into it. With the football season upon us, that also means the MLB playoffs are inching closer. The Minnesota Twins currently hold a 4-game lead in the AL Central, but it has not been easy road for Minnesota as they've been hit with injuries, and most recently the club announced center fielder Byron Buxton will be shut down for the rest of the season. Also, starting pitcher Michael Pineda was nailed with a 60-game suspension due to breaking the MLB's banned substance policy. With under 2 weeks to go, are the Twins in trouble heading into October? We'll start off with Ernie.
No, they're not, and for 2 reasons. The Bomba squad, they can hit so many home runs. They broke the record for home runs, 2 weeks ago? They have shattered it. They're going to continue doing so. They have 5 players with over 30 homers. That's a record. They have an extra 6 players, that are double digits in home runs. You can bring that into the playoffs where you're going to get less hits, but guess what? If you only get 2 or 3 hits in a game, but they're all home runs, that's a win. In the playoffs where you're going to have the best pitching out there, it doesn't matter if you lose a player or 2. Yeah, it hurts a bit, but they've got a couple weeks to recover.
Jack?
People want to talk about the home runs this team has hit, but I haven't heard anybody talking about the death. You've got Marwin Gonzalez, Luis Arraez, Williams Astudillo, who can all play multiple positions, which really helps the Twins when guys like Byron Buxton are out. You've got Jay Cave, who's been playing well. Marwin Gonzalez can play in the outfield. The worry I have for this team come the playoffs is the pitching. You've got two solid guys in Jake Odorizzi and Jose Barrios, but the rest of your pitching is very questionable at best.
Earnhardt?
I honestly don't think the Twins are doing that well right now. They're crawling to the postseason. The injuries and suspensions are killing all the great depth they've had this entire season. And the only thing keeping them afloat for this postseason right now is their light schedule.
The Twins just beat the Indians 2 out of 3 games. The only team that could catch them in their division. They're good to go. They don't have to worry about
What about this bullpen? They revamped it at the trade deadline, adding Sam Dyson, who is going to be coming back from injury, and Sergio Romo, and we've had late season success with Trevor May and Tyler Duffy. How about those?
You can't win games with no starting pitching. If you have Lewis,
got the Brewers to almost the World Series last year.
If you have Lewis Thorpe, who's a bullpen pitcher, and then you have to go into your bullpen in Game 4 of a 5-game series, if that series goes to Game 5 in the ALDS, you're going to have no bullpen. You're going to have to hope that Martin Perez or Kyle Gibson
take them over the top.
Yeah, let's see Kyle Gibson get a 7 innings and then go to a tired bullpen.
All right, guys, good discussion there. I'm going to give that point to Jack. I felt like he had the best argument. The bullpen is a big concern. We'll just have to wait and see on that one. Let's expand our debate now to the rest of the MLB as other teams make their push for the playoffs. In the AL wildcard race, the Tampa Bay Rays, Cleveland Indians, and Oakland Athletics are duking it out. And in the NL wildcard race, there's a lot more teams involved. Washington currently holds the first wildcard spot, while Milwaukee and Chicago are tied for the second spot. New York, Philly, and Arizona are within reach with only 2 wildcard spots to spare in each league. Who is going to extend their season in hopes of a playoff berth? And we'll start with you, Jack.
So, I'm thinking that the Athletics are a lock. They're the biggest lock of any teams in both the AL and the NL. And then it's going to be a battle between the Rays and the Indians for that second wild card spot. They both have really tough schedules, but the NL is very interesting. The Nationals have 5 games against the Phillies and 3 against the Indians. That's going to be tough for them. I don't think they make the playoffs. The Cardinals, the Cubs, and the Brewers all going to make the playoffs. 3 NL Central teams making the playoffs in the National League. The Brewers have a very easy schedule the rest of the way.
All right, I'm going to cut you off there, Earnhardt.
I'm going to have to agree with you with Oakland. I think they're going to make it through. They're killing it right now. They're 8-2 in their last 10, I want to say. But with Tampa and Cleveland, I just have a feeling that Tampa's going to take it. I feel like Cleveland's kind of been worn down all season. They've been having this playoff push for the last month and a half or so, trying to get past the Twins. They're going to get worn down at some point during the last couple of weeks here.
All right, Ernie?
They can't catch the Twins. That's over. A's, you're good to go, but they're going to catch the Rays. They have a much easier final schedule down the
A's
stretch.
don't need to catch the Rays. They're already ahead of them.
That's not what I meant. The Indians are going to catch the Rays. Thank you very much. And the Indians have a better strength of schedule. Other than playing against the Twins, they've won 6 of their last 7 games right now. Also, the NL side, the Brewers are absolutely killing it. They beat the Padres 5-1. They're actually up on the Cubs now. The Cubs and Cardinals have a grueling series against each other. 4 games, then they play against other teams, then they play against each other for another 3. Both of them are going to get worn down. I think the Cardinals will survive that battle. I think the Cubs are going to drop off. I think the Nationals will be able to keep that spot, whether that's 1 or 2. I don't think the Mets or Phillies can realistically catch these teams. It's just too many games to make up in a short period of time with some teams that are pretty hot right now, especially the Brewers at 8-2 in their last 10.
The Mets and the Phillies both have a really tough schedule, I agree, and I think the Brewers have a very good chance to potentially win the NL Central, kind of coming up as a sleeper team. They play the Pirates, the Reds, and the Rockies, all teams in the bottom 2 of their division. All teams below 500.
All right, I'm going to have to cut you guys off. I'm actually going to give that point over to Earnhardt. I liked his take that the Indians are going to get worn down. They're fighting for their lives right now. Well, that wraps it up. When we come back, we'll reveal this episode's winner. Stay tuned. And welcome back to Crunch Time. Your winner of the season opener is Jack Bieniek. Jack, take it away.
Well, I just want to give a quick shout out to Odell Beckham Jr. Thank you for winning my fantasy matchup in week 2. That 89-yard touchdown reception that he had single-handedly won me that game on Monday night. And that's really all I've got. Odell Beckham, great draft pick. He's led me to 2-0.
All right. Hey, what do you think about the Browns? Are they going to make playoffs this year?
I think the Browns are very capable. They've got a lot of firepower. David David Njoku, you've got Nick Chubb, Kareem Hunt soon, and then you've got Odell and Jarvis Landry, Baker Mayfield. That team has a lot of potential. The worry is the defense.
All right. Thank you guys for joining us here at Crunch Time. See us next week.